One of the great ironies about habitat improvement is almost everything that is discussed in shows, articles, that type of stuff applies to the large landowners, but a heck of a lot of it doesn't to the small landowners. And the ironic part, messed up part, is that there's a heck of a lot of more people out there that own 10, 20, 30, 40 acres than 400, 4,000, or 40,000 acres. When you have a small real world property, don't think for a second, don't buy the hype that you absolutely have to have deep pockets and you absolutely have to have sprawling acres to make a difference. You sure don't. As a matter of fact, that's another messed up belief that's been perpetuated. Really, if you own that 20, 40, 80, going ahead and doing habitat improvement is relatively much more beneficial. That 4,000 acre, 400 acre chunk of ground, it's going to have deer. Pretty much no matter what's going on, as long as the habitat's good and there's deer in the area. Okay, you have a 40, man, you can go ahead and mess that up big time. One of the primary considerations for small property owners is going ahead and manufacturing high odds, low impact stands. You are not going to have a plethora of different stand options to choose from. You don't. You only have 10 acres, 40 acres. So what you do is you set it up so that you have a handful of sweet spots on that property. And those sweet spots, you set up multiple stands. You set up multiple stands for multiple wind directions. Really put a huge importance level on keeping your impact low. Because on that 10, 20, 40 acres, just like that, deer can figure out. If you don't, deer will figure out you're hunting it and they will most likely avoid that. Okay. And lastly, for today, don't go ahead and focus on trying to offer them everything. That's awesome when you have 400 acres. If you can offer them absolutely everything they could possibly want, the best food, the best water, the best cover, the best feeling of false sense of security, breeding opportunities, water, everything better than they can get in the area, you know what? You draw a disproportionate amount of deer. On 400 acres, you darn right you can pull that off. You can often pull that off on a 120 or even an 80 acre piece. Pulling that off on a 40, a 20, or a 10 is pretty darn tough. Instead, focus on what does my property naturally offer? What are the deer utilizing on my property and what's in the shortest supply in the area as a whole? Okay. Go ahead, try to put what the deer are already using your property for on steroids. It's always easier to get them to do what you want them to do more if they're already doing it than to try to get them to do something they've never done before or get them to stop doing something. So figure out what your ground is currently being used for and try to put that on steroids if you can. And then also, in that big picture view, what is this area most lacking? If you can supply that in a reasonable, rational way, do that as well. You do those two things while focusing on manufacturing high odds, low impact stand sites and keeping your impact low in those 10, 20, 40 acre properties, you can make those suckers sing. For as much as we talk about what can, and by we, I mean the entire industry, what you can do with a 400 acre piece of ground, we tend not to spend enough time on those 10, 20, and 40 acre pieces, because guess what? That's what the majority of hunters hunt and control. Focus on low impact, high odds stand setups on those small properties because your margin for error is very small. Set multiple stands for multiple wins. Figure out how the deer are already using the property, and if you can, put that on steroids. Look at the big overall picture in the area between food, water, cover, breeding opportunities, the various things deer want. what's in lease supply. If you can go ahead and put what they're doing on steroids and offer them what is in lease supply in that area while hunting from high odds, low impact stands, my friends, really, that's the ticket to making small properties sing.